When you're moving across a city street like this, you want to make sure that you're also particularly aware of, again, still the vehicles around you. You want to be aware of the entrances and exits, because these are all areas that people can be, and just as much as a person could be hiding there waiting to get you, it's also areas where you could bump into people, and just for general unpleasantries that you don't want to have escalate into bigger problems, you just want to be aware. Another place that people tend to have problems is at ATMs. This is less now that ATMs have video cameras installed in them, but it still is an area where problems can occur. So you want to make sure that when you're walking up to the ATM, when you put your card inside the ATM and you punch in your information, you want to make sure that you're looking around as you're doing that. Never completely with your head in the ATM. A lot of people try to cover up their PIN number. You want to do that by doing what we call body blocking. You put your body in the way of it, but even though my body's blocking it, my head is still on that swivel. And so I hit my button, look around, hit my button, look around, and then when the money's coming out, I want to turn my back to the ATM so I can see if anyone's approaching from any direction with this high-end perimeter scan this way as I take my money, put it in my pocket, make sure that I'm, again, keeping my head up, not zoned in on the thing that I'm looking at, which is something that we all get used to anyway, because we work with computers and we work with books and we're such a visual, hands-on culture. It's really, really common for once we get something in our hand, that becomes our focal point. And you want to make sure that you're always aware of the things that are going on around you in your peripherals as well. So, as we cross the street here, we're going to take a look at this building. Whenever you're approaching the entrance of a building, you want to start marking in your mind areas where people belong and where people don't belong. For example, as we're walking up to this building, there's benches, there's garbage cans, there's planters, things like that. You want to make sure that when you're entering this building, you want to look for anybody that's there. When you exit the building, you want to look for anybody that is the same or different. As we move closer to the building, you want to make sure that you're looking at these chairs and that you're also looking around the garbage cans and you're looking for people that don't really belong, things that are kind of out of place. It doesn't mean that there's actually a problem. It means there's a potential for a problem. And if you can see the potential for a problem, you're much better at avoiding issues versus waiting until it's too late and then trying to defend yourself. It's a losing battle no matter what, because awareness is your first line of defense. So you want to make sure that whenever you're entering and exiting a building, that you're paying attention to the markers, paying attention to the people inside and outside. And also, actually, if you look at this building, it's really nice. Everything's really well groomed. You can see the walls. This is a well taken care of building for security reasons. Very few places for people to hide. It's a pretty good situation. We're going to go around this way. There's actually a really nice living building over here that just kind of popped up. It's a newer building. I think it even has a front counter and likely even has security in it. If you take a look at this building here, they replaced an older building not that long ago. And if you look at the entrance, it's ideal for entering and exiting security. Again, there's not a lot of places for people to hide. There's a couple of pillars there that might be of concern, but I'm fairly clear that those are things that you can scope out actually from the inside because it's a full glass front. So those are just things that you become aware of. Most people are aware of the inside and the outside. They have a very hard time being aware of both. So this is a different kind of entrance at a college here. This is another kind of entrance. One that you can see is a little bit more difficult for security reasons. So as you're walking through here, for example, this little pillar that sticks out here, this actually is a hot spot. A person can actually fit fairly well in there and not really be noticed. And I'm not a big person, but that's a pretty big space for people to be in. Also, as you're approaching this way, you're going to see that there's a glass door up here. Now, what's cool about glass doors is you can see what's on the other side, so you don't have to worry. You'll notice that this isn't exactly a locked down area. And on each side of this door, there's blind spots that you can't see from where you stand right here. So again, as you enter the door, you want to make sure that you're looking from side to side. Other red zones that you want to be aware of, but not hyper paranoid about, are UPS box. Not exactly the best hiding location, but it certainly is an area that you want to be aware of, just in case. Whenever you enter an open courtyard, like we're about to enter this one here, you're going to notice that there's little spots. Like for example, this door is swung open here. I can see beneath it, there's no feet in there or anything, but you never know. It's just something you want to be aware of. Also, you want to check these angles wherever shrubs are, things like this. People don't tend to notice these things. And as you enter, you just like to do what we call a perimeter scan, and that's where you start at a point and you go all the way around to another point. You just don't do it obviously, so you're not staring, but you just kind of glance with your eyes and do quick spot checks. You're going to notice these shrubs over here. Again, they're nice and low cut. Nobody can hide behind them. They could, but it'd have to be pretty dark and you'd have to be pretty oblivious not to see it. But these are all areas that you just get used to seeing. Oh, what's through there? Because you never want to look directly at an object. You want to learn to look through it. So I'm not looking at these shrubs. I'm looking through the shrubs to see what's on the other side. So these are all things that you want to be aware of. Lastly, you have to really pay attention to what you're wearing when you're out in the street. You want to make sure that your clothes are comfortable, that they're loose, that you can run and move in them, that they're not too baggy, so if somebody grabs a hold of them, they're either going to come off or they can get an extra length just by getting a hold of you. The other thing is you don't want to make sure that they're so cumbersome. Like for example, there's some really high short heels that if you're going to an area that you don't feel safe in, you might want to choose different shoes. Some outfits can be difficult to run in just in case there are any problems. So you want to make sure that you dress accordingly for the security situation that you're looking at. If you're going to a nightclub in downtown Detroit, you might want to dress different than if you're going for a lunch on a Sunday afternoon in the middle of Dexter. So these are just things that you want to be aware of for mobility purposes as you're moving through the streets. So finally, I just want to recap some of the things that we talked about. We talked about entering and exiting your car. That's the first mistake most people make. Entering and exiting buildings, it's another mistake people tend to make. They just tend to go in and out of buildings without being aware that those are high security risk areas. Make sure that when you're using your cell phone, you keep it short, keep your personal information discreet, and also that you keep your eyes up. People tend to look down when they're on their phones. Also when they tend to text, you want to make sure that you keep your phone up if you absolutely have to. If you're in a non-secure location and you're not feeling safe, it's not the time to check your phone. Another thing that you want to make sure that you're absolutely aware of is how you keep your wallet, briefcase, backpack, purse. You want to keep it as secure to your body as you can. You also want to make sure that if you set it down, your body's somehow in contact with it, so that way if it moves, you'll know. You want to be aware of entrances and exits of alleyways, things like that. And of course, you want to pay attention to how you dress for situations. So that's all my tips for making sure that when you're out and about, you're mindful of your security and safety, because awareness is really your first line of defense. So please make sure that you're extra aware. And as you train this stuff in your mind, eventually it becomes unconscious. It just becomes part of your thought process, and it's not a strained process. So I hope this is useful for you.